Big game. All right, we've made it. Chris Chavis or Chavis. He's Chris. He's here. I call him
what's
everything.
funny? Nobody can get my name right in this valley.
But tell him what the name is. Get the name right. Tell him.
Get the name right.
Give him your last name.
In Steubenville, they always call me Chavez. It's Chris Chavez.
Chris Chavez. Holly Brew Francais. Look, we're at Chef Ray's Diamond Bar and Grill on the Diamond in East Liverpool. And thanks to this guy, Rick Derringer, we have a chance to talk about the legend of Bobby Dawson. Tell him who we have here tonight, Rick.
Well, we have Chris Chavis, Jim Dawson, Steve Babalik, and John Babalik.
All right, let's begin with the senior member of the staff. So, Coach Babalik, I am so happy you're here. And when I think of Bobby Dawson, he's one of the very first people I think of. He played for him and he coached like him, and he is someone that never gets the credit that he rightfully deserves. Let's talk about your memories of the coach, Bobby Dawson, Coach Babalik.
Coaching or playing?
Let's go playing first.
Playing first. Strict disciplinarian. He did his way or the highway. And if you didn't like it, he needed to tell you where the door was, and don't let it hit you on the backside going out.
Here's what I did not know until this man, Rick Derringer, filled me in on something. And I did the Wikipedia thing when Bobby died. I was all in. Spent a lot of days talking about it on my radio show and, of course, social media. I knew he was at Bowling Green. He wasn't a big scorer because there was a guy on that team by the name of Nate Thurman. You just told me that today and sent me a picture. How did I never know that?
Well, who else played on that team was a scorer? Howard Coleman.
See? Bowling Green lives. So Nick Alloy goes to Bowling Green. What's the whole thing? Nick, of course, coached in Liverpool for a while, played in Midland. What's the whole Bowling Green connection? Even Ted Arnaud, Bowling Green here in Eastern Ohio and West Virginia.
They had a recruiter, someone that was in the system, did a lot of scouting and recruiting in the Ohio Valley then. And I can remember, I went with Coach Dawson. He got inducted into the Hall of Fame at Bowling Green. I went with him and his wife. And Jim Harbaugh's dad went in the same year. Wow. They sat at our table. We sat there. I called my brother and said, hey, you know who went to school with Harbaugh? His dad. He said, who? I said, Dawson. He said, get out of here. I said, yeah. I said, I was at the Hall of Fame when they got inducted up there. So, yeah, there was some ties. Someone did some. I'm trying to think that Harold Anderson was the coach. He had an assistant, or he had someone that was an alumni that did some recruiting. And there's a couple kids. Jim Potts was a real good football player at Liverpool, and he played quarterback at Liverpool, so he was up there too.
Listen, the reason I always think of this guy, and I think of Rick and Coach Dawson in those days, aggressive. Ground and pound, but not football. Pushing it up the floor, moving it around, being relentless. This guy was in Sports Illustrated for what he did from the free throw line as a kid. What was the difference in Bobby Dawson in Wellsville as a coach and as he matured and made it for a few years here in East Liverpool? Coach Bobby.
Well, we always had that talk about, like today, he'd have a hard time coaching today because of the kids. And it wouldn't be because the kids would have played for him, that it would have been the parents that couldn't have handled how he handled it. And he said, no, he wouldn't have changed. He said, I wouldn't have changed. He would have done it the same way. I don't know if he could have got away with it this year, or these years. So.
By the way, guess who's just sent me a friend request? Another Babalik, Andrew Babalik, who I met his buddy and classmate from Freedom, who's now at Penn State coaching the Nittany Lions lady team at the branch campus in Beaver, Timmy Moore. A lot of people forget how good of a basketball player your son was.
Who, David?
David,
He's a real good player in Geneva, and he played. It's funny how things happen, but the guy that was his assistant coach at Geneva, he's the head coach at Ohio State. Andrew, my other son, was.
That's who I was talking about.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. David played at Geneva.
Right.
Okay. Andrew was he was coaching an AAU team out of Cleveland. CBIZ, which was really a good program when he got into coaching. And he's sitting at a gym, and the guy from Geneva was there, and Andrew had on a Geneva basketball shirt. He goes, let's go Geneva. He goes, no, he said, my brother did. He said, he's a good player. Well, this guy recruited him. the guy that's at Ohio State recruited Dave to play at Geneva.
Pretty cool.
So-
All right, the other Babali. Jump in here, talk about the legend of Bobby Dawson. Go ahead. Jump in here. No, we're going to get to him.
Like John said, coach was a disciplinarian, great coach. But one thing you had to do was you had to know how to play defense before you could play for coach. I mean, if you didn't play defense, you found yourself pretty much on the bench sitting beside him. And all of us had great respect for him. He knew how to get the most out of us. And there was times we didn't always agree with him, but like John said, it was his way, and we respected that. We'd go through the wall for him. So it ended up being, once we got out, we realized what a great coach he was, and we loved the guy. And a lot of coaches can't say that in today's world, but we respected him, and we busted our ass when we were on the floor.
Listen, he busted my ass just talking to him in interviews, so I totally get it. All right, and this guy was such a fiery coach, underrated, underestimated in the history of basketball. In my tenure, I absolutely loved Coach Babali. Now, Mr. Dawson, let's talk about your time, Bobby Dawson. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to go back to Babali being a hell of a coach. Number one, Bobby was a strict disciplinarian, but when Coach Dawson left and Coach Babali took over, we knew we were in trouble. He ran our legs off of us. He killed us. But we would have ran through the wall, as Steve said, for both companies. They were both disciplinarians. There was no behind-the-back passes or anything unless your name was Chavis, and then you could do a 360. You could do a 360 from the foul line.
He was amazing.
But he was a great coach. Deeply missed.
Jimmy, do you remember
Get in there tight there.
you remember the Eddie Golden story? You talk about things Coach Dawson did. He
Walk around if you have to get closer. Go ahead.
He was late one day for practice. His wife was having some health issues, so he took her to the doctors. So we were starting practice. Well, we had those 6 baskets in Liverpool. Well, Eddie Golden was the manager, and Eddie was down on all fours. I forget who it was. Ran up and jumped off his back and dunked at basketball. And just as he did that, Coach walks in. He's got his whistle on his neck. He's ready for practice. He blows the whistle and says, "Everybody on the baseline." And these guys are like shaking, so they're down on the baseline. And Eddie's sitting there watching. "You too, Golden." And they had a pair of blue jeans on. He weighed about 240 pounds. He's Dawson's blowing the whistle. We're running suicides. Well, they were running suicide. And he had to run. And Eddie ran like one. Ran to the end of the baseline. He just collapsed. His face is beat red. And Dawson goes, "Get up, Golden. You're not tired. You only ran one."
All right, come back up here, young man, real slow, because I want people to get in tight on me, and then we're going to talk to Rick and more little Bobby Dawson love before we go. But let's talk about what Chef Ray has done here in this community. I mean, it is off the charts. Go ahead. Tri-State Supply Zone, Rick Darian.
Chef Ray opened this place up, what did he open, about 3 months ago now?
Yes.
Been open. It's been a nice gathering place for East Liverpool. Great to have something back in town. There's more to come. He also just recently brought the old Rickers and has named it the 6th Street Deli and Restaurant. And it's just a great place to have a good drink, some good food, and meet with some friends.
And we're going to go there, me and you and a few others, to do a Super Bowl preview after this. Why? Hey, he may not be open on Sundays here, but they can take all of your orders for your big game home tailgate party. So whether you want that appetizer like stuffed banana peppers, some homemade wedding soup, maybe if I'd have had some of that, I'd still be married. And also our famous salads that are absolutely off the charts and burgers that are second to none. It's Chef Ray. It's on the Diamond. It's the Diamond Bar and Grill. Now, so I'm doing this Wikipedia thing, Coach. And I knew about what he did in Liverpool, the first, district championship in years, and Larry Long and all these Derringer boys and all the things that he did, and this young man here. But what he did in Wellsville was off the charts, undefeated seasons, pushes it to the Final Four, I think, one time. But I mean, it was regionals, it was districts, it was big wins, even against Midland on the road, did everything. And Sonny Vaccaro, who I recently had on the radio, used to bring the players down here to the MA. He and Pat DeCesar started that whole round ball thing at the arena. I didn't realize that Bobby coaching at McDonald's last year too.
Yeah, because of John Meeks. Jordan coached at Hugo Central, and they were well, we played Central, and Central had good teams then. And they were coaching the U.S. team that year, and I can remember going to the game. We went up, and I think Adrian Daly played that year. Yeah, he was on that team. Moses Malone, if I'm not wrong, Moses Malone played in that game too. He had some talent. Believe me, he had some talent.
All right, let's get in close on Rick Derringer, but we're going to talk to Chris too. I'm saving a whole lot of stuff for Chris. But look, Ricky, you and your brother were just two knuckleheads. You would have went right into a brick wall and did whatever bringing the floor. I don't think in all the years that I've covered basketball, and we're still doing the Allegheny Hill Network Sports Medicine Friday Night Game of the Week. Coach Blundo of Newcastle, Brian Urso, Central Catholic, Josh Roundtree on the play-by-play, just about ready to hit the airwaves at KDKA. Those two coaches with me Sunday on the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show. But it was all about being aggressive. What was it about this guy that could light a fire under anyone, Rick Derringer?
He just had a way about it. I mean, he got in your tail end every chance he had, but if you listened to what he was saying and filtered the rest of it, he just lit a fire under you and got you to play as hard as you possibly could play. And that's just about what it was. And he did like to play an up-tempo game. He didn't really want to play the slow down or the half-court style of basketball game. At least when I had him, we wanted to get it out and go. And along with Chris and Larry Long and Alan Blythe and Pat Burson and Dave Bowersock and a cast of others, we were able to get that ball out and go and push it up the floor. And it was a much more fun style of basketball than running through a half-court style of offense. So yeah, he knew how to get it out of us the best. And as these guys have all reiterated, that it's just amazing what you would do for him when you got to play for him.
All right, put this camera on me. This is what I remember the most about Bobby and Dawson.
You forgot how he spit.
Listen, no, I'm talking about you too. I love to watch you coach. All right, here he is. Let me ask you, whatever happened to you after high school?
Oh, I ended up going to school Panhandle State and playing for Earl Bill. I got a scholarship down to Panhandle State. I went down there along with Eddie Golden, Steve Boyd, my roommate.
You were a great basketball player. You know that. A great basketball player. And what was it like, that experience, being a part of the resurgence of this whole basketball thing that is still going very strong with Nate right now?
You know what? Growing up as a little kid, that's all we did everything. We played sports, every day we played football throughout the field, basketball. We just ran the streets and had fun, and basketball's always been my enjoyment. Playing around with Mark Douglas and Nelson Taylors and the Anthony Williamses and Homers and Howards and, just basketball.
Listen, let's talk about Mark Douglas for a little bit. And Nelson and Christian. That's the very first year Jim Irons was coaching here. They ended up 10-10. I thought, when I saw them the first time coach, I said, just get us the rooms in Columbus. We're on our way. I've never seen anyone
so talented.
But then I find out, guess who Mark Douglas is related to? Simmy Hill's family. I was with Simmy Hill's brother about a week ago. The basketball talent that came through Liverpool, a big part of it, the Derringers, obviously the Babalics, Wellsville, Jimmy Dawson. There was much more talent than people could ever even imagine in one place. So why didn't we, as a unit, me broadcasting and you at Wellsville, or as a coach, why didn't they win more state titles or get deeper? What's the difference between the talent in other parts of the state compared to what I saw here, Coach?
I think they got caught in a tough district, just like Liverpool. All those years when they had good teams with Nick and they had to play Zanesville. How you could play Zanesville in a sectional championship game, and both of them were in the top 5 in the state, and it's just the luck of the draw where you're at. But Dawson was, very, very seldom wasn't he in the district finals. There wasn't too many chances he didn't go. And went to the regionals, numerous years. He got to the state to one. Now, even when they went to the state, my brother's senior year, they got shafted. They played Dayton Dunbar over Christmas, beat Dayton Dunbar by 20-some points. Well, as soon as they went back to school after Christmas. Dunbar and Dayton Roth consolidated. They closed schools in Columbus or in Dayton. Then they go to Columbus and they end up having to play them in the state semis.
Stevie, talk about that. Go ahead.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, I guess back then you had the opportunity to either to stay in the lower class or move up. Well, they stayed in the lower class, and I guess just to compare, that'd be like Wellsville and East Liverpool consolidating and then playing from there. You know, what damage do you think if Wellsville and East Liverpool would have consolidated, through the state every year? I mean, there was no difference between those two consolidating and playing, and then if Wellsville and East Liverpool had consolidated, you would have had,
But here's the thing. Being that I'm from Western Pennsylvania, and you got Jimmy Hill going into the WPIL Hall of Fame, obviously. Should have happened a long time ago. But everybody talks about the Midland teams, obviously, and all the players, the Greens, the Kirbys, the McGlures, the Jimmy Hill Slappies, I mean, tons of them, Norm Van Leer. But Wellsville, I remember being at Beacon Memorial, and it was kind of after the glory years, but Wellsville was known as the basketball capital in this part of Ohio, like Midland was. How good was Wellsville at its height? Bobby Flint, yourself, Coach Dawson, Coach Pavali.
It always seemed like he made in something always happened. The year they went to the regionals? Yeah, he goes down, he's at practice the day before the regionals. Larry Baldus, our all-high player, good player, went to Duquesne. He goes up, he's screwballing around in practice. No, I want to say screwballing, I shouldn't say that. He goes up and he dunks it, or he falls and breaks his wrist. So he goes to the regionals the next day, he's playing with a cast on. He couldn't play, played one arm. He got beat by Sunbury Big Walnut. He went on and played. But it was always something always happened. They played down at the arena in front of packed houses. And, Charlie Huggins was down there. Bobby Huggins' dad coached at Indian Valley. They had teams, but Warsaw Riverview, they had a great program. It always seemed like it was a different kind of basketball playing in the valley here, up and down. Then when you went and played those teams from out in the rural areas where it was slow down, play half court, play defense, and it was just a different scenario.
Dawson, let's just talk about, again, just your thoughts, Coach Dawson, Potter basketball, what Nate Conley is doing right now. His wonderful wife has that East Liverpool Hoops social media page, does a lot of good things. Basketball, as much as we love football, basketball in this community has always been special, right?
So we've been blessed to have like the better players like Nelson and Douglas who come and play with us when we were younger at Horseman, and we always have better players to play with. And then as we got up to school, we did the same. So it helped build the program, the foundation. Bobby Dawson put the program together for all the kids coming through, but it was a great learning prospect and it helped the people below you kind of get back.
We're going to go around the room, just memories of Bobby Dawson, and I'll finish up at Chef Ray's Diamond Bar and Grill. Look, get in here. You're going to absolutely love the experience, and he has definitely got something shining in downtown East Liverpool. All right, Mr. Derringer, you first. Bobby Dawson.
Simply the best coach I ever played for.
Go ahead.
Absolutely disciplinarian and a teacher on the court.
Just a great coach. I mean, he expected you to bust your butt. We all did. I mean, that was Coach, and he's a great coach. And like I said, can't speak any more highly of him. And, through the years, came to love the guy, and not that we didn't back then, but
It's a different love.
yeah, different love.
Go ahead, Coach.
He was a great motivator. And one thing I think I can say about him was there was guys, he told me one time, because I remember when I was playing when I was a junior, and I thought I was doing things right, and my numbers were good, and I was the only guy getting yelled at in practice. And one day I sat there and I came to school early, and I was sitting down there waiting in his office for him. And I said, we got to have a talk. He said, what are we talking about? So I told him, I said, I don't know what you want me to do, man. I said, I'm doing everything I can. He said, one thing I want you to remember, if I'm not yelling at you, that means I don't care. So I always remember that. There was guys he motivated by kicking them in the ass. There was guys he motivated by patting them on the back. And it was a tough thing for some guys to realize why once somebody was getting yelled at and somebody was getting patted on the back, you could do better, you can do better. So, but yeah, he was a great coach, great coach.
Great coach. I love the man. This man followed me around East End all hours of the night, wondering if I was going to get in any trouble, but he would find me on the basketball court, on the courts. But, you know, I had the talent. He just wanted me to just lay it out there, and that's what I did for this day. So I'm going to miss you, Mr. Dawson. Love you.
Listen, I'm going to end on my thoughts about Coach Dawson. Speaking of East Liverpool, we got to talk about Eric Long going into the OVAC Hall of Fame, where Coach Dawson did 2 years ago. Just about a little over 10 went in. Eric Long's ability to decathlon, we know that, Tennessee NCAA champion, Barcelona, the whole thing. But I alluded to this story, and this is no lie. He literally came down when he was like in 8th grade or something, the bleachers at the field house in street clothes, and a one-step drop, two-handed, double-fisted pump slam behind his head. He may have been one of the most gifted athletes, and Robert Jackson will be my all-time, I think, football player. But overall athlete, Eric Long was pretty special.
Kind of hard to dispute that. I mean, Robert was a pretty good athlete too. He could play hoops. Not a lot of people realize that, but he could play both. He probably would have been a state qualifier in track too. Chris knows more about that than I do, but Robert was a long jumper and a high jumper. He probably if he would have concentrated on just track, But yeah, Robert would definitely. Sean or Eric was definitely one of if not the best.
Speaking of great athletes, it's probably not going to show up in any stat book. Junior Parham, the best guys come out of it, the most talented athletes come out of this year.
No doubt. Okay, come on over here, young man. Let's get a long shot here of this whole crew. Look, it's your Pratte Pack. All I can say is, it's funny how certain things just stick with you. In tight on this, please, young man. Sheets, right here. Sheets up there in Calcutta. So I went in and got a little beverage, and Steve Sheets and I go way, way, way back. So much so, I was trying to think when we actually opened that Sheets in Calcutta. It was about 1998 when Sammy Scafidi was my wheelman and his lovely bride was actually the manager out there. A lot of stuff has happened since then, some good, some bad, some I'd like to do over, but for the most part, everything I did in this town by hanging out with people like these guys and Coach Dawson and all the memories that are still as vivid to me today as they were when they were unfolding in real time the first time are so special. So much love to the Dawson family. He will live on in all of us forever. And know this, in one form or another, whether it was lacing up sneakers or going on the radio, Bobby Dawson built character. He helped people mold themselves and shape themselves into not only good athletes and broadcasters, but good human beings. And if you want some good food, Chef Ray's Diamond Bar and Grill in the heart of East Liverpool. It's your Pratte Pack. Good night, everybody.